We just give it a couple seconds so people can join. Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome. Welcome to the College Tracker Show. We're just giving it a couple, maybe 30 more seconds to allow folks to get settled and get joined. All right, welcome everyone to the College Tracker Show. My name is Dwight Brown, and I will be your host for today. And we have a great one today with Tufts University. And today we have John Conley, who's Assistant Director of Admissions. And we also have Brent Shang, who's the International Fellow at Tufts University. So they'll be presenting, and after their presentation, we'll have a Q&A session. We ask that you put your questions in the Q&A section, the Q&A box, Q&A widget, and you can also feel free to engage in the chat, but we just prefer questions in the Q&A section. But we have an exciting one for you today, and I'm not gonna take up too much more time. I'm gonna hand it over to John and Brent to take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Dwight. Well, hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is John Conley. I'm Assistant Director of Admissions here at Tufts University. Use he, series pronouns, and excited to chat a little bit more about Tufts. And I'll pass it over to Brent to introduce himself.
Yeah, hi, everyone. I'm Brent. As Dwight so kindly put it, I'm the International Fellow at Tufts Admissions Office. I study International Relations and History. I'm a senior, and I use the he series pronouns.
Alrighty, so Tufts University, we are located just about 5 miles north of the city of Boston. From this picture here, we're on the forefront of the picture, nice little residential campus in the city of Medford in Somerville, Massachusetts. And then in the skyline behind the back of this picture here is the city of Boston. So we're really nice, really great to be able to be so close to Boston, but have a nice residential campus here as well. We do like to say we have a unique constellation of campuses as well. So we do have our Medford Somerville campus, which houses our School of Arts and Sciences, School of Engineering, our Graduate Fletcher School. And then we also have our School Museum of Fine Arts, which is undergraduate level and graduate level courses down in the Fenway area of Boston, the top right picture here. And then we do have our graduate school in Boston, Massachusetts as well, kind of located downtown, which houses our Friedman School of Nutrition, our master's programs for medicine, dental, and biomedical sciences as well. Then finally, we do have our Grafton, Massachusetts campus, which is home to our veterinarian school, our Cummings Center for Veterinarian Studies. And then actually, finally, we do have our Tufts European Center located in Terroir, France, which is host to our Tufts summer abroad program, Tufts in Terroir, which is really great too, which I'll touch upon a little bit later as well. So Tufts University, we are a medium-sized Research 1 university along with Liberal Arts University. About 6,600 undergraduates total will be housed here, which is really great. We have 3 schools, as I mentioned, in undergraduate career here, School of Arts and Sciences, School of Engineering, and School Museum of Fine Arts. So students will apply to one of those 3 schools if you're interested in applying to Tufts. 96% of our classes are taught by faculty. The other 4% are taught by either outside visiting professors or current students. And we'll touch upon that as well in a little bit. 96% first year retention rate as well, which was really great for students to be supported, feeling confident with their work and with their courses as well. 13% of our students are international students, which is really great. We also have 21% of international background. So whether they be U.S. dual citizens, U.S. citizens that have studied elsewhere or have lived elsewhere for a period of their life as well. So really great to celebrate diversity across campus. Some really key points too is what we like to talk about our community, which Brent will also talk a lot about as well. We like to have students that are intellectually curious, globally minded, civically engaged, kind, and collaborative as well, which makes up our community. So to dive in a little bit about research, as I mentioned, we are Research One University. So in any given year, we are amongst a select group of schools that completes the most research. So we're really excited to be a part of this classification. In this classification, we are one of the smallest universities in the United States, and then also one of the most undergraduate focused in research as well. So that means you're not fighting with graduate students for any grants or any options to dive into research. Our students really get to dive into research as early as their first year. It's as easy as going up to a professor asking if they can jump on board with their group presentation or their group research. And usually most of the time professors will say yes. If not, they'll keep you in mind for one down the line or put you in contact with another professor. 60% of our students do research at some point during their 4 years. So again, very easy to access, manageable with your schedule, and very flexible as well. Students are also can dive into our independent research opportunities too. So this is really great for students if you want to just dive into research and continue with it, maybe after you graduate, but really start the foundation before. So we do have our Summer Scholars Program, which is probably our most popular program, where students can actually apply for some grants. They can do this during the summer when they're not in classes, so they can really focus on the research, dive into what Tufts has to offer for spaces and research opportunities as well. And I know, Brent might have some great, examples of some research that his friends might be doing. So Brent, you want to give some examples?
Yeah, I think Tufts University, there are many opportunities for research if you want them. If you can have research opportunities that go directly towards your major, so you can have components of your specific major be completed by doing these independent research opportunities as the semesters goes along. In addition to that, as John previously mentioned, it really is just walking up to your professor and asking if there are any opportunities. And I've pretty much seen this in a lot of my classes. As a humanities student, I can only imagine for STEM people, it is significantly easier to get like lab time and stuff. But it really is just like, approaching a professor who may have an expertise or researching a field that you want, and then they will make an active effort to try to integrate you. I've seen many of them say like, let me get you that funding so we can make sure you are subsidized as well. So it's very nice on our end as students that our professors are actively trying to engage us in these research opportunities. A big example, my girlfriend, she does research for the biology department, and she did it over summer through this program, as John mentioned, and she's continuing to do this this year. She's doing it as part of her biology major, and it completes certain degree requirements, which are very helpful. As to the specifics of what she is researching, all I can tell you is that I know it's something to do with regenerative limbs. I don't know. I'm an IR student. I don't know the specifics, but it sounds very interesting, very hands-on, and obviously she thoroughly enjoys working with the staff and faculty in these lab sessions.
Awesome, thanks, Brent. So campus vibe, as I mentioned too, Brent definitely will be able to help talk a little bit more about what our campus vibe looks like. But just again, really quickly, intellectually curious students, globally minded, civically engaged, kind, collaborative, is stuff we look for. So Brent, take it away to talk a little bit more about our campus community.
Yeah, of course. On the slide, I think it outlines certain characteristics that makes the average Tufts student, intellectually curious. I really find it interesting at Tufts University. The first thing that surprised me when I came to campus was that everyone was actively supportive in their education. I grew up in Asia most of my life, and that's a pretty competitive background for education. When I first came to Tufts, I honestly found it like I was surprised how like just friendly everyone was in the pursuit of their education. It's just bewildering to me how no one feels the need to compete. I've not felt any like pressure from any other students. Whereas, at these other top universities, I'm not going to mention exactly which universities I'm thinking of, but there are certainly that, competitive component to the learning environment. At Tufts University, I don't think I've experienced that once. Globally minded, as John previously mentioned, there's a large international population, along with people who are actively trying to think outside just the domestic United States and even North American region. Especially as an international relations major, it is one of our most popular programs at Tufts University, and so obviously we take a more international approach to looking at several perspectives. Civically engaged, it ties back into this whole idea of just giving back to the community and trying to make the world a better place. I feel like Tufts is very very good at producing students who actively want to help the world and make it a better place. Playful. Okay, so if you look up Tufts University, the one adjective will come up is quirky, and it genuinely, like, I think, like, I thought it was like really, like, I thought it would be like, kind of like this fictitious kind of tale that when I first came, but it is active, like, really true. Like, I cannot emphasize. There's always a story that I tell. My freshman year, I was coming back from a club meeting at 9 p.m. and I see a bunch of fire like on our campus. Like, I just see a bunch of fire. Like, part of me's freaking out because I wasn't paying attention. And then I realized that they were juggling it. That's Tufts Juggling Club. And to me, that was just like so like out there. I didn't realize that was a hobby that people could have and something that people could explore at a university setting. Playful in the sense of, we all have these different hobbies and everyone is shamelessly themselves. But also, like in the classroom, people are actively wanting to learn and taking new perspectives in maybe a course or, a class that you didn't otherwise would have realized. Our ex-college is a great example of this. We'll talk more about it in this presentation. And finally, collaborative, kind, active citizens. I've touched upon all these things previously, but I do really believe that Tufts thoroughly strives to create these type of students and introduce them to the campus.
Awesome. So switching gears here to athletics a little bit. So we have 28 Division III NCAA teams here at Tufts University. So we're really excited to have just many great sports, men's and women's crew, football, field hockey, softball, baseball, so many great sports. And we are the Jumbos. We like to talk about that. So we are the Jumbos, which is really great. This past year, we actually won the Directors Cup. So we're really excited that we won this cup, which is basically in the playoffs and throughout the year. It's a point system, and in the Division III, we ended up having the most points at the end of the year, on how we did in the playoffs and through the regular season. So we're really excited about that. So really great things. It's our first time winning the Directors Cup, which has been going on for a while. So we're really excited to do that. They had a nice celebration at Fenway Park here in Boston. It's just really great to be able to have so many great student athletes here on campus. Our athletics department too, as I mentioned too, your student athletes, so students first, athletes second, but there is, just a lot of great options for you to be supported throughout this whole journey, throughout the 4 years, through just kind of the admissions process, and then on once you graduate. So there's a nice sense of community here that we have through our student athletes on campus as well. Our student athlete GPA is actually very high. We have about 3.6 average GPA for our students currently. So we're really excited to have, so much great support in the classroom, but also on the field too. Each sport has a faculty liaison that is just for them, just to have just another level of support for our students. So you might have your academic advisor that you can go to, but also you have your sport athletic liaison you can go to in case there's any questions or concerns with maybe scheduling a course during practice, or maybe during a training session or a lifting session, whenever that looks like. So these faculty liaisons are really great to support you throughout this time. So that way, when you are, training and focusing on sports and whatnot, that you aren't worried or concerned that you might miss a practice or you might miss a class or anything like that. Like as I mentioned too, our sense of community within our athletics is really great. You'll find your first community here once you step on campus for orientation, or if you're here for a fall preseason for a sport, whatever that looks like. So just really great community from day one, but also within athletics as well. Each sport gets paired with another sport. So a spring sport will be paired with a fall sport and vice versa, and they'll actually help with game day operations for that sport. So if you're a tennis player, you might need ball boys. So maybe the lacrosse team will help you with that or whatnot too. So they'll be the ball boys for the game. So it really creates that camaraderie between our student athletes, and just understanding, that we're all in it together. We're all we're celebrating the same school. We're all Jumbos. Really great things there too. If you're interested in athletics, I always recommend checking out our student athlete blogs. We have a lot of blogs on our website just to talk about maybe what a day in the life looks like for our athletes. Maybe it's going from training at 6 a.m. to classes classes and then to practice and then maybe a study hour, whatever that looks like after. So it's really kind of cool. You get a little sense of what it looks like. That's definitely better than me chatting about it too, because it's coming straight from our students. And then on top of that too, we have so many great faculty members, staff that show up to games. We have our alumni that show up to games as well. I feel like our games and our community at games, our atmosphere is always just really great, and really, as an athlete, you can really be able to just be excited to be here and be a jumbo and be able to play in front of your home crowd and whatnot too. We have great facilities for all sports. We have our boathouse that's located near us. We have our hockey rink that's just the town over from us. We have a football field on campus, track, baseball field, softball field. So we have facilities for each sport, which is really great for them to have kind of like their home space, and then a great athletic training facility as well on campus too. So really great things for our athletics department, from all of our wins that we've got from the Directors Cup to being student athletes and having faculty support, and to just our atmosphere at games and our community is around us as well. All right, so students, as I mentioned before, as we get into kind of the more academics, of course, of Tufts University, they enter with passions, which is really great. So when you're thinking about applying to Tufts University, you actually apply into one of our 3 schools, as I mentioned before, and all students matriculate as undecided. This is really purposeful because we want you to be able to dive into, we understand you're 17, 18 years old. You might not exactly know what you want to do. You might be in between 2 different majors that make sense with another. Maybe it's 2 that are totally different. So we want you to make sure that you're confident with your areas of studies before you kind of jump into to Tufts and the curriculum that we have. So you get to list up to at least 3 majors you're interested in, but it doesn't mean that you have to go into those 3 areas once you come into the Tufts. We just want to make sure you're a good fit for that school. So if you're applying for international relations like Brent, you'd apply for the School of Arts and Sciences. If you're interested in engineering, you'd apply into School of Engineering. If you're interested in art, School of Museum of Fine Arts. But you have up to 2 years to declare a major within the School of Arts and Sciences. You have up until spring semester, your first year, to declare a major in School of Engineering. And then all School Museum of Fine Arts actually has a studio art major, but they follow their means in an individualized curriculum as well for their area of art that they want to dive into as well. Bren, do you have anything else to add to be having majors and stuff like that applying to the school?
Yeah, I want to emphasize the undergraduate experience at Tufts is really conducive to exploring different passions. I have, I'm doing a double major, just like international relations and history, and I could have graduated like early, no problem. And the point I'm trying to make is, you really do have that time to explore different departments, different courses that you may not have realized initially going into college. So you do have that time to explore. I believe most undergraduates, they kind of they declare their major in their like sophomore spring, but even that is a bit flexible if you need it. I had a friend, for example, she came in as an engineering student. Then she switched her major to become, I forget what it was, but she switched her major 3 times and still graduated on time. Or actually, she graduated early. So the point being, you can be pretty like flexible with how you approach your academics, and eventually, as when it comes time to graduate, you have had that time to explore and realize what you really want to pursue.
Thank you. So yeah, our average class size is 20 with a 10-to-1 student faculty ratio. So I'll definitely let Brent, who's a current student, talk a little bit more about this as well. But really great things here on campus for sure. So Brent, take it away.
Yeah, as John said, average class size is about 20, faculty ratio 10-to-1. You have obviously with different types of courses, you have a lot of variance. When you have language courses, for example, it is more conducive to have a smaller environment so you can practice that language more. So maybe those courses be, 8, I think I had for my Chinese class. You also have other courses that are much larger. You have your lecture-based courses, and those could range, 100, 200. But even those courses usually have an accompanying recitation, which has, recitation is basically a course component that the professor adds on, which divides the lecture into smaller classroom settings. So for example, you could have 2 lectures a week, but then you have this recitation component that breaks down your 200 200-person course into maybe 30 people. So it creates more of an, camaraderie in the classroom. You can discuss certain documents, or if you have questions, you can feel like you're less lost. You can ask the TA who's usually hosting these recitations, and you feel kind of less lost even in these larger classrooms. So my point being is, even if the class size itself is very large, there are certainly resources that make it seem smaller and more accessible for everyone.
Yes, and as it says here too, our average major is 10 to 12 courses. So as Brent said last slide, you can really find your passion and really add that in. 2/3 of our students are diving into multidisciplinary areas, whether they do major minor, major double minor, double majoring, as Brent mentioned too. It's really welcoming and flexible here at Tufts. So really great things to be able to dive into different unique curriculums, or just dive into passions that you might have, or even maybe find one that you didn't have before and you're super excited to take some elective courses in that, maybe accidentally minor in something, as one of my coworkers did in art history. So it's just really kind of great options for sure within our curriculum. So to dive into each of the schools a little bit separately, I'll kind of briefly go through each school. To start off, our School of Arts and Sciences is our biggest school. About 75% of our undergraduate population is housed within the School of Arts and Sciences. We have 150 plus different majors and minors. Really just a broad spectrum here, which is really great. As Brent mentioned, international relations, we have history, we have film media studies, linguistics, anthropology, psychology, biology. There's so many different courses that dive in here, majors and minors as well. So I always recommend check out our whole list on our website. You can check out the pages specifically for those. You can learn from current students what they're doing for research or internships. You can see what the curriculum looks like as well, to really dive into your area and see if it's a fit for you as well. Within our School of Arts and Sciences, a little bit more liberal arts based here as well. So you do have foundation requirements along with distribution requirements. So these requirements are courses kind of ingrained with the liberal arts. You'll take 2 courses within the 5 main subjects: natural sciences, social sciences, humanities, arts, and history. So you'll take 2 courses in each of those subjects. But the cool thing is at Tufts is you have so many different courses to choose from for these as well. So I think we have a philosophy course that counts as a math. So if math isn't your strong suit and you don't want to take calculus, there's options out there for you to really kind of dive into something you're interested in, and that you think you'll have fun in it as well. So you can really learn from there. We do have a foreign language requirement as well, so up to 6 semesters of a foreign language. If you're kind of maxed out right now and you're kind of not interested in taking 6 semesters, we do have cultural classes too. So you can take up to 3 semesters of that requirement to take a cultural course. These courses are taught in English, but talks about different cultures from around the world, maybe talking about song, dance, film, just culture, history, stuff like that. So it's really kind of a nice, unique way to dive into a unique language that maybe you haven't tried before, continue on with one that you've done in high school or secondary school, or dive into these cultural courses. So learn a little bit more about different cultures from around the world. So really great options there. But really the whole important thing about these requirements is to really think differently, take different perspectives into play, be in a classroom with different people that maybe you're not, that you haven't been in with before, cross-discipline courses as well, to really kind of dive in to all sorts of different aspects of the Tufts community as well. It's really great things. So we do have a study abroad program as well. So we do have 45% of our students are diving into study abroad at some point during their 4 years, which is really great. I know Brent spoke upon this a little bit earlier too, but just really great options. We have 10 Tufts specific programs where students that we kind of work with our students to make sure that it's just specifically Tufts students can go abroad to these different areas. We have connections with places in Hong Kong, Italy, London, just so many different great places here. So those are Tufts specific programs that we have, but we also have 100 pre-approved programs for outside organizations, which you can apply for. Our study abroad office really helps students get really anywhere in the world that they want to go, and get to a college that they're interested in as well. So they're really there to support you throughout the whole process and really help welcome you to be able to study abroad. We also have our Tufts and Telwar program, as I briefly mentioned at the beginning. So it's a 6-week summer-long program specifically for Tufts Tufts students during the summer, and this is out in Telloir, France. It's the base of the French Alps, so really nice, great mountain views, lake views. It's a French Benedictine monastery that we own, which you'll live in, you'll take classes. A really kind of cool option there. You'll be taught by Tufts faculty, experience the French culture. You'll be out there with other Tufts students as well. So really kind of cool, unique, a program out there to really dive into French culture and just take courses as well. Across the board, you can take classes here. If you're an engineer, you can go out there and take courses out there involved in engineering. If you want to major in French or minor in French, and you can take French courses out there taught in French as well. So it's really kind of cool, unique option that we have there. So yeah, really great study abroad programs. And then finally, we have our experimental college. I'll let Brent talk a little bit more about this because it's a very unique program for Tufts.
Yeah, experimental college. These are like courses that I guess they're not in the traditional topics that you would otherwise think in the kind of traditional classroom setting. They can be taught by students, visiting faculty, specifically, coming to teach this course. I took a course, for example, which was called Famous Trials in U.S. History, that was taught by, I believe, a visiting BU professor. And he was like, he's a lawyer, and he basically went over like, the different famous trials in U.S. history. So like, the Salem witch trials, for example, the trials that came after Lincoln's assassination. So these are very interesting, unique courses that you could take. There are other ones that come to mind. I know my roommate took one on food media, so I kept seeing him in our kitchen, like taking photos of oranges, and I thought that was interesting, like to walk into at like 11 p.m. But whatever, it's fun. And then there's another one that I was going to take this semester. I'm probably going to take it next semester. I believe it was called video game cultures. And so my point being, there are so many different interests across the board. Obviously, I've just listed a couple of them. There are certainly other ones that I have certainly missed, and they just, again, are across the board. There's a whole process for how, if students are teaching it, they get vetted to be able to teach this course a matter. And it's just such a unique experience to have, and it's kind of like a course you add just kind of for fun to explore a topic that otherwise wouldn't be taught in a traditional classroom.
Yes, we love the experimental college here for sure. So switching gears to our school engineering. Our school engineering is definitely a smaller engineering program in the United States. We have about 1,200 engineers total. But really focusing on faculty relationships here and hands-on experience and kind of creating a socially engaged engineering program as well. We are happy to say that we have 50% of our students in our engineering program do identify as women. The national average is around 16%, so we're really excited to have underrepresented students in STEM be able to thrive here at Tufts and feel supported as well. We also have a 0% net attrition rate, which really helps show that students are being supported and graduating within 4 years, or just graduating from Tufts, which is really great. The national average is around 40% for engineering programs, so students are feeling supported, diving into the engineering curriculum, and feeling that they made the right choice of diving into engineering as well. We have 16 different majors in our school engineering, so lots of great options for students to dive into it and take courses elsewhere. As I mentioned before, we do have distribution requirements, but we do cut off the math portion for our school engineering, so there'll still be four courses or 4 subjects with 2 courses they have to complete for this program to kind of dive into the liberal arts curriculum that we have. And we do not have a foreign language requirement as well for school engineers. But students, I think one of the most popular minors in school engineering is Spanish. So students can still dive into a foreign language if they'd like. We just don't have that as a requirement, as they still have to take lots of courses to graduate on time within engineering. But really great options to still tack on a minor if they'd like, and still feel part of our school as well. We also are project-based from day one. So students actually take an Engineering 1 course called EN1, and that course kind of resonates with the major they're interested in declaring, whether it be, it's typically during the first year. So if you're an electrical engineering major, you might take the course that lines up with electrical engineering, and you'll kind of dive into hands-on experience right away. I remember talking to a student that they said they were in I think it was a mechanical engineering course, and they were supposed to build and race caterpillars. And their caterpillar actually hopped like a frog instead of crawled. So they were all just like, well, what happened there? Let's get back to the drawing board and see what happens. So they all fixed it and stuff like that. Eventually it crawled, but just really kind of cool where you're kind of diving into experience from day one, and really, having some fun, but also kind of building a foundation for courses to come, learning a lot, and what that will look like as well. Of course, very collaborative program here as well. As I said, faculty relations is really important here. So collaborating with fellow students as well is probably going to be the first question on all your projects is who did you work on this project with? Our professors want to know that you're actually asking questions, taking different hypotheses into play and all that fun stuff too. And really just diving into those. So common traits here is kindness, smart, humility, and patience as well. So again, very welcoming community here in our school engineering, to really focus on all of your courses here. School Museum of Fine Arts, as I mentioned before too, is located in Fenway area of Boston. So right next to our partner at the Museum of Fine Arts. The Museum of Fine Arts houses the second largest collection of artwork in North America. So we're really excited to have a partnership with them and to have such a great space down in the Fenway area for our art students. We have two unique tracks here. We have our typical Bachelor of Fine Arts program, which is a 4-year program, which you'll dive into your artwork. And then we also have a combined degree program. So if you're interested in still diving into art, but you want to maybe get a degree elsewhere in the school arts and sciences, you can do that as well. So that's a 4+1 program. Students will apply into this. So you get you apply into this program. If admitted, you get a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree within 4 years. And then the 5th year, you'd kind of also work on to getting a Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Arts in the school arts and sciences. Students can also just take single classes here as well. So we like to say we have low walls between all three of the schools that I've mentioned and talked about today. So you could really take courses across the board in any of these schools if you'd like for electives or just taking some general interest courses as well. We are the only interdisciplinary studio art program embedded with a Research One university. So if you want to dive into research, our art students can do it. You don't have to do it within your major. You can do it outside your major if you'd like as well. But really great things there for students to still dive into research, even if they're interested in art. We also do have an individualized curriculum here as well. As I forgot to mention, but we have about 300 students total in School Museum of Fine Arts. So really get to dive into your curriculum, small class sizes here, of course, as well, and really get to learn from your faculty members and continue on with your art. So you kind of work with your professor to kind of find your courses that will line up with your area of art, but also kind of maybe some courses that will help you out, expand into other areas as well. So really great to be able to take courses and kind of work with your artwork. With our partnership with the Museum of Fine Arts, it's really great. Students will, after their senior year project, will be able to apply to have their artwork shown in the Museum of Fine Arts. So every year, the Museum of Fine Arts has a space for our students to have an exhibit hall there to show their artwork in front of hundreds of thousands of people that visit the Museum of Fine Arts every year as well. So really great program here at the School Museum of Fine Arts. So we do have a 96% outcome rate as well for students that have either gotten employed or gone to grad school within 6 months after graduation. So we really support our students to find their fit for their career, but also some internships and job opportunities as well. And I think, Brent might have some insight on kind of the resources we have on campus and what that looks like as well.
Yeah, the Tufts Career Center, in my experience, been very helpful. Like they're very flexible. They are very understanding of every student's kind of different situation. So obviously me as an international student, they're fully aware of, all the visa requirements, and they really do try to help you find that employer that could potentially, sponsor a work visa. In addition to that, they also have if you have a specific country you may want to work in, they also have resources for the different regions. So if you want to move outside of the United States after you graduate, they certainly have resources for that. There are a lot of one-on-one sessions that you can, go to. There are career fairs. I went to a virtual career fair, which I guess is a product of the pandemic. But obviously, I met a lot of employers there from, the State Department, federal government, and, like even the certain private consulting firms for my major specifically. That being said, there are so many different companies that go to these type of things, and they are actively looking to hire students right out of college. And the Career Center also hosts different events throughout the year. Maybe to critique your resume, help you prepare for an interview, for example. All these resources, obviously, if you want them, they're there. You just have to kind of reach out for them.
Yes. So some great things for our Career Center to really help our students find a job after graduation. So now I'll switch into the application process for anyone interested in applying. We do have 3 deadlines for applications. We have our early decision 1, early decision 2, and regular decision. Early decision 1 is November 1st. And early decision 2 and regular decision is January 4th. The early decision rounds are the binding contract. So if you are interested in applying, you get admitted, we expect you to enroll in the fall. And then we also expect you to withdraw all other applications from all other schools. So that's just kind of the difference between that. If you apply regular decision, you can apply to as many schools as you'd like. You will hear from us by May 1st or April 1st, and you get to finally decide by May 1st as well. So really great options there if you're interested in ready for Tufts, and you can apply by November 1st, which is right around the corner, or you could wait until the January 4th deadline as well. Totally up to you. We are on the Common application, the Coalition application, and the QuestBridge application. So whichever one is easier for you to fill out and accessible for you. So when it comes to our admissions process, we look at 2 things, your data and your voice. But before I get into either of those, I want to mention that we take a really holistic review to your application. We look at all components that you submit, that your school submits as well, and we really try to hone in on your skills in the classroom, and then of course outside, and who you are as a community member as well. When it comes in the context of your school, we like to review in context of that school. We don't try to compare students or anything like that, or compare schools. We like to see the curriculum that's offered at your school that you're currently at, what you're taking in that curriculum at the school, and of course how you're doing in those grades, in those courses, your grades that you get throughout the years. So when it comes to that, we look at your data and your voice. So your data is anything from your high school transcripts, exams that you'll take, all that fun stuff. So your counselors will send that. We also, if you're applying for early decision, require first year marking period, grades, progress reports, and if you're applying for January 4th for regular decision, early decision 2, mid-year grades as well, or marking periods. We do require English language test scores if your main language isn't English, or if you haven't been in a school that's their primary medium of instruction is in English as well for at least 3 years. So that's really important. So again, if you've been in a school that's taught in English for 3 years, you don't have to apply. I know many Canadian institutions may be like that. So yeah, no worries about there. If you're applying for fall 2023, we are SAT or ACT optional. So what that means is completely optional. There's no asterisks, not secretly recommended, totally optional after that. If you're applying for after fall 2023, we're still assessing if we're going to be optional in the future years. But if you are applying for this year, we're completely optional. It's just a piece of the data we look at. If you don't submit it, we're not going to even ask, why aren't you submitting this? It's just completely optional. And on top of that too, we look at your voice. So anything that from the application that you mark down, so from your essays, your extracurriculars, your recommendations. So your personal statement is very important, should be about you. That's why it's called the personal statement. We like to get to know you, outside of your transcripts and all that fun stuff. So make sure you're putting down something that you want us to know about you. There's 7 different prompts you can choose from. So really something that really flows on paper that sounds from your voice, and, what you want us to learn a little bit more. 2 Tufts specific programs. We have our Why Tufts, and then we do have another supplemental statement, which you can choose from one of 3 topics. 250 words max here. Why Tufts is very important. I think, when you think about why Tufts, think about, what makes you stand out, what makes you want to be a part of our Tufts community. Extracurriculars, you have up to 10 spots to fulfill. You can fill it up here. You can fill up all 10 if you'd like. If not, no worries. But what are you doing outside the classroom or inside the school that you really want to continue on with, or it's been really important to you? We take in consideration the hours during the week, the weeks of the month, and the months of the year. So we like to see that. Are you doing part-time jobs, full-time jobs, volunteering, family responsibilities? Are you involved in clubs and sports on campus? Are you involved in clubs and sports outside of campus? Are you involved in music, theater? What does that look like for you? Really important things there. We do require 2 letters of recommendation, one from your counselor and one from your teacher. Again, we do understand some schools require 3, so if you submit 3, that's totally fine, but we just require the 2. So that's just really great options to learn a little bit more about you from inside the classroom and from inside the school as well. If you are interested in the School of Museum of Fine Arts, we do require an art portfolio, and that can be found on our website, a little bit more information about that. Everything else is optional though. That's just our admissions process, what we look for in your application. Data and voice piece there, of course, is very important. To switch gears into financial aid, we do proudly meet 100% of full demonstrated need for all admitted students, regardless of citizenship status. So we're really excited. So we do not offer any scholarships, whether that be merit-based scholarships or athletic scholarships. So we are completely need-based aid. So what we require for international students is a CSS profile, some tax documents. If you are a U.S. citizen, we do require the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA, as well as the CSS profile. And those tax documents, of course. Our financial aid team will put together an expected family contribution, what we expect you to be able to contribute to your students' studies here at Tufts. So we subtract that from the cost of attendance here at Tufts, and whatever is left over is financial need. If you're an international student, most of that is grants. If you're a domestic student, it could be some loans, but we try to cap off loans to really help students be able to graduate with less debt. And we have such a great foundation for being able to help welcome students from all socioeconomic backgrounds and diversities as well. So that's just financial aid. I always recommend checking out our website if there's any other questions, or giving us an email to learn a little bit more about it. Other ways to visit us, besides, of course, this great event here with College Tracker, we do have some virtual visits on our website, just general information sessions similar to one I gave today. We have one specifically for engineering and also School of Museum of Fine Arts, and we have just a general one. We also have Tufts guided tours online as well from current Tufts students. We are open for visits. If you can come to the Boston area and tour some schools, we'd love to have you. We have some info sessions on campus as well as just tours. So whatever is open to you and accessible. And then also we do have our Instagram page, which has just a lot of great up-to-date information, student takeovers as well, and different fun facts there, and important dates that might be coming up too. So you can learn a lot from our Instagram. On our website too, as I mentioned, we have Tufts blogs from Tufts students. We have each counselor on there as well. I'm the one that covers Canada, so you can always reach out to me with any questions. But we do have some other students that have volunteered, besides just Brent, that have just volunteered to say, hey, I'm here for a resource for you if you have any questions as a prospective student, or anything like that as well. So lots of great options to get involved, to learn more about Tufts, and to reach out to current students or anything like that too, to just learn more about what it means to be a Tufts student, to see if it's a fit for you as well. So that is it for me and Brent today. So thank you all for having me, and hope you guys learned about Tufts. And I'll leave this up here just for a little bit, just to write down our emails if you'd like.
All right. Thank you, John and Brent. That was an amazing presentation. I learned a lot about Tufts for sure. So we do have a couple of questions, so we can jump right in. First one we have from Jeanette McLeod. It's a kind of a two-part question. If a student can transfer out of engineering to arts and science, can they transfer into engineering from arts and science once enrolled, say after a year? And also, Janet read that this School of Fine Arts requires a portfolio. So could a student transfer into fine arts from arts and science after a year?
Yes, great question. So, so students do have the option, if they are interested in switching a major or switching their courses or anything like that, working with their pre-academic advisor and the registrar to help out with that. It is a little bit harder to transfer into the School of Engineering because students do need to declare earlier than the School of Arts and Sciences. So that should be something that students should know right away if they're interested in that. We do like to see that you are interested in the school you're applying to from day one. So we kind of will kind of differentiate that and be able to see if you have a genuine interest in the school. We might reach out to you to see if you have interest in there. If you're interested in switching to the School of Museum of Fine Arts, it is a little bit easier to do so, but we do like to see that portfolio even from that process. We will always reach out if we see anything on your application that shows you might have interest in switching there, because that way we want to make sure you're on the right track too. So we really want to make sure that we're setting you up for success from day one. We don't want you to come here and all of a sudden be like, oh no, this Tufts doesn't have anything that outside of the majors that I was interested in before. We want to make sure that you're a good fit for us here, so that way you don't have to go through a transfer process to another institution or anything like that. So it is easy to kind of go about doing that all, but you have to kind of make sure you're on the right track from day one if you want to switch into engineering or School of Museum of Fine Arts. It's a little bit easier to switch into sports and sciences because there's a little bit more flexibility there to declare a major. And because we already have so many students taking courses in there for our liberal arts component as well.
All right, thank you. And also from Jeanette, is Tufts financial need blind or need aware in terms of admissions?
Yes, great question. We are need aware in our review process.
Okay, thank you. All right, so a couple of questions from you guys. Could you talk a little bit more about diversity on campus and support?
Yes, of course. So as I mentioned before, we have about 13% international students here on campus, 21 from international backgrounds. About 40% of our U.S. Domestic students do identify as students of color. So we're really excited to have pretty good population here on campus. It's something that we strive ourselves on to continue to build and welcome and support students as well. On campus, we do have our Center for Diversity, which actually houses, we actually have 8 identity-based centers as well for underrepresented students here at Tufts, which has directors, staff, student volunteers, and physical spaces here on campus for students in these that identify with these identities or just just for cultural exchange as well. So these identities, we have 8 centers. So we have our Africana Center, Asian American Center, LGBTQ Center, our Women's Center, our first center for first generation undocumented DACA students, our Latinx Center, Center for STEM Diversity, and our newest one this year is our Indigenous Center for Indigenous and Native American students in America. So we're really excited to have all these great centers for these for our students. They put on different events throughout the year. They put on informal, information sessions and stuff like that. They bring in speakers and whatnot as well. But it's also a great space for students to go to and feel supported and have a nice safe space on campus as well. So they do some fun things and they do some really important things to support students as well. We do have our university chaplaincy on campus as well. So if you want, we have we have a main building here on campus that houses our the main religions. They have put on one service a week for the main religions around the world. So we're really excited to have that on campus as well. We have a halal center on campus as well. Some really great surrounding communities in Medford, Somerville that we work with for students to feel supported spiritually as well. So really just great diversity across campus for all of that. We also welcome diversity through our STAR Center as well. So our Student Academic and Accommodations Resource Center. So any accommodations that students might need in the classroom or outside the classroom, whether it be getting around on campus. We do have a partnership with Lyft, the rideshare company. So if there's any disabilities, we are on a hill. We are located on a hill, so it's a little bit tough for some students if they're wheelchair bound or they need crutches. So we do have a resource to help students get free rides to the front of their either residence hall, dining hall, or academic building for them to be able to dive into that. Any accommodations in the classroom for any students that might be hearing impaired or visually impaired or might need a scribe on campus as well. So really focusing on that. On campus too, we welcome diversity for gender and sexuality as well. So we have lots of great student-run organizations and support for those students as well. So really celebrating diversity across the board here at Tufts campus. We also have lots of student-run organizations for diversity, from identity-based clubs to gender, sexuality, and stuff like that as well. On top of that, geographical diversity as well. So we have all 50 states represented, U.S. territories, and over 80 countries represented here on campus as well, with Canada being one of them. So we're really excited to have all sorts of diversity on campus welcomed and celebrated.
Awesome. Awesome. Sounds like you guys are doing phenomenal in the DEI department. Another question from the Q&A from Noah Chin. Can you talk a little bit more about the application process if I want to play ice hockey? Would I apply through the hockey program as an athlete, or do I apply as an academic and then try out for hockey? So just want a better sense of how that works.
Yeah, of course, that is a great question. So if you are interested in being a student athlete on campus, each sport is a little bit different with their recruiting policies. We do recruit through the NESCAC, which is our conference. So that is a whole separate process. It's not a Tufts admissions process or anything like that. So I always recommend reach out to your coaches that you're interested in the sport you're interested in, to kind of just introduce yourself. They might ask for some film, or they might ask for your schedule. So they might show up to some games. They don't always reach back out to you because they see lots of emails. So don't get discouraged. They might have seen it and they might show up to a game one day just out of the blue. So that's just kind of a pro tip there. But when you are applying, you still apply to the school you're interested in: school arts and sciences, school engineering, school museum of fine arts. But if you are a recruited athlete, the coach would be in contact with you to fill out, to go through a process before you apply, to see if they would encourage you to apply, if you'd have actually space on their roster if you are admitted to Tufts as well. So that's just kind of the whole process through there. You'd still apply. There's no guarantee. If a coach says, yep, this student would be offered a roster spot if they're admitted, it doesn't mean that you're guaranteed admission to Tufts. Is just something that a coach would kind of raises there. So it's not like you're applying to play for hockey or anything like that, or each sport. You're still applying as a Tufts student, but it just depends on what the sport is. If you're going to be a recruited athlete, some sports have open tryouts and stuff like that as well, but that's very few and far in between. So they kind of go through the recruitment process. So always reach out, check out the website to reach out to the coaches via email, and kind of start the process there.
Oh, awesome. And it's kind of like you mentioned earlier that you are student athlete, so student first and then athlete. So that makes sense. Another question for you, Brent. What was your experience like moving to the US, and how did you get, kind of settle it?
Oh, that's so long ago. Yeah. So I was coming from Shanghai, so that was effectively taking like my belongings from Shanghai all the way here. That was like a 18-hour flight. Yeah, I mean, obviously, on the surface, I think I integrate pretty well into American culture, but there is certainly that element of trying to fit in. It's a very kind of different environment in the United States, and I'm sure there are clear differences between the United States and Canada. So there are the entire experience. Well, firstly, it was surreal because you've lived somewhere your entire life, and now you're packing everything up. All your belongings now are in like three suitcases, and now you're living in this kind of different land that like first time I was living in America was at Tufts University, and it was it was just a surreal experience because you get off the flight and then maybe hotel 1 or 2 days, and then next orientation instantly, and you're just kind of meet so many different people. You have people coming from different parts of the world: Europe, Asia, Africa. But it is I think an important distinction for international students is the fact that you are international, and maybe your shared backgrounds, shared experience is a binding factor for you in making friends. I think that's a clear advantage that we have over other kind of the American students, is that we kind of are all in the same boat. We understand, the experience. We all just got off the flight yesterday, and now we're here, type
Yeah.
situation. So it's very easy to connect with other international students. Even like, for example, I'm Chinese. There's so many students come from China, and I'm sure the Canadian students, once you meet other people, you hear about like, hey, I went to this school. It's like, oh, do you know this guy? Oh yeah, I do know this guy. I played hockey with him, something like that. So we definitely have that advantage. So though it might be harrowing at first, the integration process gets easier as you, because you're international.
That's cool. So even though you're from different countries, you guys can relate with the fact that you're new to America and there's some culture shock there that you guys have to get over. That's pretty cool. All right, talk to me about any of the like tough traditions that you guys are like you really proud of.
Yeah, for sure. So I feel like the biggest one for us is our Tufts cannon and the painting of our cannon. The whole history behind it was that we were given a cannon from the USS Constitution way back in the day, and someone was not super excited to have this cannon here represented on campus, so they painted it overnight. And then that way during the day, it was painted a different color in protest. And then no one really could do anything during the day because it kind of goes against the protest that was happening. So from this whole event, now every night, people will guard the cannon, paint it whatever cause they want. It could be a cause, an important cause, protest. It could be just a fun thing that's happening on campus. It could be marketing for a company or a sporting event, anything like that. But you have to guard it at night because other students will want to come and paint it over that night. So it's a nice tradition of staying up all night with some friends. You paint this nice cannon. And then the next day you get to show your voice around campus and people walking around it. It's definitely a really cool aspect, definitely like a bucket list item for many students on campus. And then on top of that, we have a lot of other traditions on campus too. We have our Tufts illumination ceremony, which kind of welcomes you to Tufts. And it's a nice candlelit ceremony at night before classes start. And then once you graduate, it's the same thing. Just kind of end your time here at Tufts before you graduate last kind of day. So a nice meaningful ceremony and tradition before you start and then right before you end here at Tufts as well. And those are just two of many. We have a whole page of them on our website. So feel free to check those out.
Cool. And the last two questions for both of you. From your perspective, John, what are the options for accommodations and housing? And for Brent, what's it like getting settled or some tips as it relates to getting settled onto the dorms?
Yeah, of course. So we do require and guarantee students to live on campus for the first 2 years. After that, students can choose to live on campus or off campus. And students that live off campus are just mainly campus adjacent. So they're living in apartments just right near campus. So students typically have from one end of the campus to another, or from their residence hall or apartment to where their classes are. It's just around about a 10-minute walk. Depending on how fast you walk, of course, or if you're a scooter or a bike or whatever that looks like too. But really great things. So we do require for the first 2 years. So first year students will be living with fellow first year students and classmates. After that, they can choose to live with upperclassmen if they'd like, or just whoever they want to around campus. And then after that, students can live elsewhere too. We do have specialty housing on campus as well. We have our French house, we have our La Casa house, our crafts house. So these are just specialty housing for self-interest groups. So if you have an interest in the French language, you can maybe apply to be in this house and maybe get approved to be in there with some fellow people that want to speak French as well. They put on different French cuisine every once in a while. They put on trivia, stuff like that. And so we have a lot of different of those self-interest houses as well for students to dive into too. And so yeah, Brent, your side of the question, you can go ahead for.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to the first question actually. So I've lived on campus for 4 years. I've actually found the experience to be quite nice. Very convenient. First off, don't have to deal with a landlord. That's great. But usually, your first 2 years, chances are most likely you're gonna be like in the more traditional dorm room style where you have, the roommate and you guys, you have the shared hall bathroom type situation. And then when you get into your third, fourth year, as John said, you can move off campus, or you can, you have more flexibility in terms of actually getting better housing. So I think in my junior year, I had an apartment style with three other people. Each of us had our own bedroom. We had shared kitchen, shared living room, shared bathroom. And those options get more open when you become an upperclassman. I'm currently a senior. I live in a wood frame house on campus with two of my roommates from last year, and we all have our own bedroom, and it's obviously much more spacious space on my senior year. Granted, the housing for upperclassmen is not guaranteed, but generally it's pretty decent at finding spots for you. In terms of the next question, tips for getting settled in the dorms. So I found that a lot of people, like, obviously, like, pack lightly is a good, like, thing to have, but it's also like, don't pack so lightly that your room doesn't have any personality to it. Because I feel like a lot of people, when they first come to college, they just kind of, I think a lot of what brings on the homesickness is the fact that you have nothing that reminds you of home, and that you have nothing in your room that kind of actually resonates with you personally. So I think it is important to have like those tokens that really make your room more personable. Like I remember like my freshman, I like if I pan the camera, you would see like a bunch of jerseys on the wall. So for my favorite sports teams, I have different figures from my favorite TV shows, favorite games. For example, I have like this nice framed picture of Yankee Stadium because I'm a huge baseball fan. It's just about making it more personal. And I also have like a framed photo of my family. I think that's an important one. It kind of guilts you into like actually calling them, because college is very busy and you tend to forget. I'm very guilty of that. So A, it guilts you into and reminds you to call them, and B, it kind of just reminds you of home. And that's, I always feel like, the important part. And as you get more busy and time goes on, you eventually become more accustomed to life here and you learn to enjoy it more. So that homesick period goes away. But definitely when you first get to campus, make sure you have something that speaks about you and reminds you who you are. College obviously is a time to find who you yourself are, find what makes you you, but you're definitely bringing something from home. So you should bring that and make sure you are staying true to at least the person you were before.
Nice. Very nice. All right. So last question is for, well, both of you can answer, or either of you. What's your favorite part of Tufts University?
Well, I guess I'll start too, because I'm sure Brent will have a better answer than me if you would. But I would say definitely for me, it's the community. I mean, I started working here last year, and the community was so welcoming. Just in my office, I met with some professors, I met with some current students as well. And they're always just willing to say hi, hold the door for you, those types of things. And they're always saying, "Oh, where are you from?" Which is really kind of a cool, unique area, because there's so many different people around campus from different areas. It's just a great way to get to know people, and you can kind of find some similarities between you and stuff like that with when you ask that. So it's just really nice to be able to be, instead of just saying, "Hey, how's it going?" just be like, "Hey, how you doing? Where are you from?" I want to get to know you a little bit more too. It really helps with our campus. Helped me as starting an admissions world here. To learn a little bit more about our campus and our community too, but just so many welcoming students and faculty and staff as well.
Yeah, I guess my answer to that question, for starters, it's gonna sound super nerdy. Like I play like video games for our college, so I play against other universities, across the United States, and I definitely remember playing against a Canadian school and them just completely destroying us. But that's a separate story. So my favorite part of the university is, the university helped fund our gaming room, so it is very nice to actually be able to look at your teammates' reactions while you're playing with them. We started in our freshman year, and we were all in our each dorm room, and we were playing together. And now it's progressed to the point where we have our own room. We play together in that room.
Nice.
So I can see how angry my teammates are with the play I just made. It's good to have the body language part of it. But regardless, my point, the main point is that the university fosters these kind of unique hobbies. I thought that was such an interesting perspective. I already told you about my juggling club experience. And two, the fact that the university was able to not only support that, but like financially back it. And so, if you have an idea, you have a good proposal, the university is more than willing to support you as long as, there is shown interest, you put in the time and work to make it actually come to fruition. So I'm really just happy that the university is supportive of, all these different unique hobbies and really support people becoming, in touch with who they really want to be.
Wow. Well, thank you guys. You guys, you guys did a great job of sharing your both your experiences with the university, Tufts University. And I'm sure if we had another hour, you guys could keep going. But we're out of time, and so we want to thank you for taking the time to join us today. Also, for our viewers, thank you for joining us on the College Tracker Show. We hope this was very helpful in terms of making a decision, and we look forward to hearing any questions or comments. You can find us on our website. You can contact us on our website. So great having everyone here tonight, today, or tonight, wherever you're calling in from, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Dwight. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.